what's going on? Ryan here with Intersection Records, and Happy New Year. Today's January 1st, 2024. Wish everybody a Happy New Year. Last year was a great first year on YouTube for me, and thank you, subscribers. Sorry, I've been off YouTube for the longest period. I have taken a break through the holidays, but I want to introduce a new series that I'm going to run every Monday called Monday Night with Miles Davis. Every week we are going to pick an album and we're going to talk about that album that next Monday night. So we'll have a week to review. Hopefully, if you're new to jazz or maybe you're a Miles fan, you'll listen to the record during the week and we'll meet back that next Monday and talk about that record, and we'll do it every week. Miles Davis, I've been listening to since I was in college. He is from the St. Louis area. He was born in Alton, Illinois, which is about 15 miles north of St. Louis. And then when he was one, moved to East St. Louis, is directly across the river from St. Louis, Missouri. You know, he was from a privileged family. His father was a dentist. His family was one of the richest black families in Illinois. They had farms in both Arkansas and in Illinois, where they hunted and fished and rode horses. He took to the trumpet at a young age and was exalted to the top of his class as far as teachers and people that motivated him to play. Clark Terry, a St. Louisan, was an early influence. In 1944, when the Billy Eckstine Band came to St. Louis, that band featured Art Blakey on drums, Charlie Parker on sax, and Dizzy Gillespie. Miles Davis sat in 1944 at the age of 18 with the band, and that changed his life forever. He would then want to go to New York and find Parker's band. His father let him go to Juilliard, where he spent very little time studying. It's famous that one of his teachers at Juilliard said the blues are for, poor people to sing and play about their troubles and Miles told that teacher, listen, I came from a rich family. My father's a rich man. The blues don't mean that to me. But Miles was a great blues player in the jazz world. He helped form the bebop sound, but really gravitated away from that. More of a modal jazz player where you're playing around the chord as opposed to through chord changes. Miles, followed some trends, but basically was a trend setter, in the 60s, dissecting jazz and playing around the melodies, and then was a forerunner of the electric jazz scene and the jazz fusion scene and the jazz rock scene, really changing every few years in styles of music. My first record that I had when I was in college was this record, and it really changed. I loved the vibes from Milt Jackson on this record, along with Thelonious Monk. Paul Chambers is on this record. Early Coltrane is on this record. His first 12-inch on Prestige was the Musings of Miles Davis with Red Garland and Philly Joe Jones. I don't have any of the 10-inch Prestige, but I have all the Prestige, and I have all the Columbia studio albums up to his hiatus, as long as all of the live albums. So we have a lot of material to go through. Steaming, part of that Prestige and working and relaxing and cooking, right? These sessions were done in a couple of days with this first great quintet with Coltrane and Philly Joe Jones and Red Garland and Paul Chambers. These are just classics that you have to have. Of course, Kinda Blue and Milestones perfected the sound with the addition of Cannonball Adderley on the sextet and with the Wynton Kelly and Bill Evans on piano, along with Jimmy Cobb on drums. This is just must-have material. Great live albums like Four and More, you know. Introducing the second great quintet. This album, of course, is George Coleman. This is pre-Wayne Shorter joining, but yeah, Tony Williams and Ron Carter and Herbie Hancock and Miles. One of the great, second great quintet records with many Wayne Shorter compositions like Footprints on it from 1965 is Miles Smiles. You get into the electric era with Joe Zawinul and John McLaughlin and Chick Corea and Dave Holland, along with still Tony Williams and Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter. You know, just brilliant record. Some of these records are hard to get into. And again, we're gonna pick one here in a minute, and we'll all have a week to listen to them, and we'll get back next week and discuss. This took me a long time to get into because it's avant-garde. But then, of course, their next album was Bitches Brew. Billy Cobham on drums, you know, along with a cast of characters like Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter and McLaughlin. The great live album, Live Evil. You know, just fantastic stuff. You can spend the rest of your life getting into these records, and there's still more. And then stuff like the 80s Tutu, Marcus Miller, you know, compositions primarily. We're going to get into all these records. And by the end of it, hopefully, if you stay with me, I know this isn't everybody's cup of tea, but sometimes we don't know what our cup of tea is until it's presented in front of us. And maybe this can inspire you. And it's also going to solidify some of my listening on some of these records. You know, there's lots of material here. I have about 55 Miles Davis albums on vinyl. There's a few things that I'll have to pick up probably to cap off the entire discography. But we're going to pick an album right now out of this. Don't tell my wife that I have this. I don't know if she'll even notice. Of course, she'll notice at some point. She comes out here. Where are we going to go with this first record? We are going to go with Miles Davis and the Modern Jazz Giants, and that is just hysterical because that was the first album we talked about in my first. How appropriate to pick this out of 60 albums or so. We're going to talk about Miles Davis and the Modern Jazz Giants next week. Next Monday night. This is a fantastic place. I can't believe I just picked that. I went to Wikipedia and printed off all of the albums. Again, this comes out, it's released in 59, but it's recorded on Christmas Eve 54, one of the most famous jazz sessions of all time, because Thelonious Monk plays on this record, along with Milt Jackson and Philly Joe Jones. So it's one of the rare occasions where the great Thelonious Monk plays with Miles. This is where we're going to start. Check out my channel. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Happy New Year. See you next week on Monday Night with Miles.